Chapter 21. And Satan stood up against Israel, and moved David to number Israel. And David said to Joab and to the princes of the people, Go number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring me word that I may know the sum of them. And Joab said, The Lord make his people of 100 times so many more as they are. But, my lord the king, are they not all my lord's servants? Why doth my lord require this thing? Why shall he be a cause of guilt unto Israel? Nevertheless the king's word prevailed against Joab. Wherefore Joab departed and went throughout all Israel, and came to Jerusalem. And Joab gave up the sum of the numbering of the people unto David, and all they of Israel were 1,000 thousand, and 100,000 men that drew sword, and Judah was 410,000 men that drew sword. But Levi and Benjamin he did not number among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab. And God was displeased with this thing, therefore he smote Israel. And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly in that I have done this thing. But now put away, I beg you, I beseech you, the iniquity of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. And the Lord spoke unto Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and speak unto David, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I offer you 3 things, choose one of them, that I may do it unto you. So Gad came to David, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Take which you will, either 3 years of famine, or 3 months to be swept away before your foes, while the sword of your enemies overtake you, or else 3 days the sword of the Lord, even pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the borders of Israel. Now therefore consider what answer I shall return to him that sent me. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for great are his mercies, and let me not fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000 men. And God sent an angel unto Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was about to destroy, the Lord beheld, and he repented him of the evil, and said to the destroying angel, It is enough. Now stay your hand. And the angel of the Lord was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And David lifted up his eyes, and saw the angel of the Lord standing between the earth and the heaven, having a drawn sword in his hand, stretched out over Jerusalem. Then David and the elders, clothed in sackcloth, fell upon their faces. And David said unto God, Is it not I that commanded the people to number, even I it is that have sinned and done very wickedly? But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray you, O Lord my God, be against me and against my father's house, but not against your people, that they should be plagued. Then the angel of the Lord commanded Gad to say to David, that David should go up and rear an altar unto the Lord in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And David went up at the saying of Gad, which he spoke in the name of the Lord. And Ornan turned back and saw the angel, and his 4 sons that were with him hid themselves. Now Ornan was threshing wheat. And as David came to Ornan, Ornan looked and saw David, and went out of the threshing floor, and bowed down to David with his face to the ground. Then David said to Ornan, Give me the place of this threshing floor, that I may build thereon an altar unto the Lord. For the full price shalt you give it me, that the plague may be stayed from the people. And Ornan said unto David, Take it to you, and let the Lord my king do that which is good in his eyes. Lo, I give you the oxen for burnt offerings, and the threshing instruments for wood, and the wheat for the meal offering. I give it all. And King David said to Ornan, No, but I will verily buy it for the full price, for I will not take that which is yours for the Lord, nor offer a burnt offering without cost. So David gave to Ornan for the place 600 shekels of gold by weight. And David built there an altar unto the Lord, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings, and called upon the Lord. And he answered him from heaven by fire upon the altar of burnt offerings. And the Lord commanded the angel, and he put his sword back in its sheath thereof. At that time, when David saw the Lord had answered him in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, then he sacrificed there. For the tabernacle of the Lord, which Moses made in the wilderness, and the altar of burnt offerings, were at that time in the high place at Gibeon. But David could not go before it to inquire of God, for he was terrified because of the sword of the angel of the Lord. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. And today we'll see that we got this story here of Ornan, that threshing floor of Ornan, and that great plague that God stayed there. We're going to go ahead and start here in verse 1. And Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel. And Satan, it's given a name here as if it's a being. Satan is it's kind of like standing up in indifference. It's like adversity has stood up, not a being, a creature, as one would understand it that way. It is like adversity, something different, this difference than what you would usually do, something you would usually do, you have done differently, whereas you would generally be good in accordance with the law of God. You are not. You are adverse or indifferent from what you would normally be. Satan has been given a lot of power in people's understandings, his mind. We need to understand that there's nothing that happens on the face of the earth that God does not control. If you say, a lot of people used to say, the devil made me do it. No, the understanding to do right or wrong is within oneself, and we choose whether we do right or wrong. And usually, if we're doing wrong, we'll find out there's punishment in it, and it's all from God, even the wrong we do. But we'll see here that this Satan stood up against Israel, this adversity, and it moved David to number Israel. And this is something God commanded in the book, the law of Moses, not to do. Verse 2, and David said to Joab and to the princes of the people, go number Israel from Beersheba even to Dan, and bring me word that I may know the sum of them. So David, God's chosen one, his king, he's established his kingdom now firmly, and he has said to Joab, to all the princes of the people, these princes of the people are the rulers, these ones over all the tribes, and each one would go to the tribe and to their heads of each house, and they are commanded now to go number the people, or to get a number of them, all of Israel, those contend with the mighty one, from Beersheba even to Dan. And this was an old saying back then. It just meant really from one end of the kingdom to the other end. Beersheba is means the well of seven, or this well of oath, and because it's this well of perfection, even the oath that was taken a long time ago, even to Dan, and Dan means to judge, the judge. 3. And Joab said, the Lord make his people 100 times so many more as they are. But my lord the king, are they not all my lord's servants? Why doth my lord require this thing? Why will he be the cause of guilt unto Israel? And Joab means God is Father. God is the Father, says to David, the Lord make his people 100 times so many as they are, and this 100, it's always going to be a judgment, because we're going to find out God's getting ready to make a judgment, and it was from one end of Israel to the other. They are, my Lord, the king, are they not all your servants? And they were all the servants of David, because David had been established the king, and it was his dominion. But it would be a sin now to number them. It was written in the law, and the law is pretty well a common known thing. It's nothing that's not known, and it's not nothing we'll see that was kept from the people. Everybody knew the law. 4. Nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab. Wherefore Joab departed and went through all Israel and came to Jerusalem. So now the king's word naturally would prevail against Joab. God is the Father, and Joab has gone now through all Israel, and he's come to Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings. And we're going to see this is exactly what happens. He comes, and he has the number now. He's went through and he's numbered all the people. 5, and Joab gave up the sum of the numbering of the people unto David. And all of Israel were 1,000,000, and 100,000 men that drew the sword. And Judah was 400, threescore and 10,000 men that drew the sword. And Joab gave up this number that up to David of all the people that he had went through the land and numbered. And it was 1,000,000. Israel, those that contend with the mighty one, were numbered, and it was 1,000,000. And this thousand is this fulfillment, even of fulfillments, this fulfillment of all those things that would be fulfilled, and 100,000. And this would even be the judgment of those fulfillments among men that drew sword. And Judah was 400, threescore and 10,000 men that drew the sword. And that's 470,000. The score is 20, and threescore is 60. And Judah was 400, threescore and 10,000. This 4 is always going to be the work of God, and 100 is always going to be judgment. It's the work of God in this judgment. 3 to complete. Score is 20, and that's for redemption, or that you might witness the law, because that's what redemption is. And 10,000. Even the law, 10's always the law, and 1,000 is always fulfillment. And this law be fulfilled among men that drew the sword. And it's for judgment. It's what it's always going to be for, against those that sin. And we're going to find out this is the example that's given in the story. 6. But Levi and Benjamin he did not number among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab. But Levi, those that join, and Benjamin, the strength of my right hand, he did not number them. For the king's word, we'll see, it was abominable to Joab. It was abominable because Joab knew it was a sin, but he did as he was commanded by the king. 7. And God was displeased with this thing, therefore he smote Israel. And we'll see, God wasn't happy about what the king had done, therefore he did smote Israel, these that contend with the mighty one. We'll see, a lot of people say that, well, this is harsh, this is evil that God does, but God creates all things, and God gives life, and God takes life away. It's a gift from God. It's something lent by the Lord. 8. And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly in that I have done this thing. But now put away, I beg you, the iniquity of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. And David, this chosen one, says unto God, I have sinned greatly in that I have done this thing. But now put away, I beg you, your servant's sin. And this sin God does put away. And we'll see now, when David sinned and realized what he had done, he turned to God and repented of his sin. And we'll see, God does, and we'll find out also, just like God says, there is a recompense, and then there's forgiveness. 9. And the Lord spoke unto Gad, David's seer, saying, and Gad is the troop. Gad means troop, or this host, the troop, and it's like a army, a small army, a group. David's seer. David's seer is someone who looks unto God for him. These seers are always going to represent those that have kind of hewed them out a spot there beside the king. 10. Go and speak unto David, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I offer you 3 things. Choose you one of them, that I may do it unto you. And Gad was commanded by God to go and speak unto David, and to say unto him, I offer you 3 things. Now choose one of them. And these 3 things we're going to find out, because it's going to be to complete. It's always going to be to complete, and we're going to find out. Choose one, because it's going to be to complete the judgment of God. 11. So Gad came to David and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, take which you will. Take which one ever you will. 12. Either 3 years of famine, or 3 months to be swept away before your foes, while the sword of your enemies overtake you, or else 3 days of the sword of the Lord, even pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the borders of Israel. Now therefore consider what answer I shall return to him that sent me. And Gad pretty well gives David a choice here, these three things. Now, either 3 years of famine. Now, 3 years, this is 3 to complete years of the greater understandings even of this famine. And this famine's going to be for the starvation of the word of the Lord in the end. And these 3 months to be swept away. 3. Now, this is going to also complete this lesser light in that it's swept away while the sword of your enemies overtake you. And this sword of your enemies would be all those that would come against understanding. Or else 3 days the sword of the Lord. And these 3 days, once again, going to complete those lesser understandings, those little understandings, those days that make up the year, where this sword of the Lord even, this pestilence and the land, in the land, this pestilence in the land, and the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the borders of Israel. Now therefore consider, and David, 13, said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for great are his mercies, and let me not fall into the hand of man. And David said unto Gad, I am in a great strait. He has great problems. He is in a dilemma. Let me fall now into the hand of the Lord, for great are his mercies. And this is where the true repentance comes in. Let me fall now into the hand of God. We submit ourselves even into judgment, to the judgment, knowing our sin. We submit ourselves to the judgment of God, and that's what David's doing here. For great are his mercies. Let me not fall into the hands of men, to the hands or the works of men. 14. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000. So God does send a pestilence, and he does punish, and he punishes the whole nation, we'll see, for the sins of the king, because when the king sins, this grows into sin for the nation. This shows that sin is tolerated by the king, and all the nation does sin. And there fell in Israel 70,000 men. These 70 is 7 tens. 7 for perfection in the law and the fulfillment among men. Was this the pestilence done? And God sent an angel unto Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was about to destroy, the Lord beheld, and he repented him of the evil, and said to the destroying angel, It is enough. Now stay your hand. And the angel of the Lord was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. So now, while the pestilence is going on, God has sent himself. He's come to Jerusalem. He sent his angel, and he's come to Jerusalem to destroy it. And as he was about to destroy it, the Lord beheld, and he repented him of the evil. For God is merciful. And this place of peaceful teachings, we're going to see this place God's made an example out of many times. The Lord beheld it, and it repented him of the evil. And he said to the destroying angel, It's enough. And stay your hand, or stay your works. And the angel of the Lord stopped. And when he stopped, we'll see he was standing at the threshing floor of Ornan, the Jebusite. And the Jebusite are those of the threshing floor. Those of the threshing floor, even those that thresh there. And Ornan means these fir trees of joy, or these joyous fir trees, and it represents those everlasting joy. Everlasting joy. And that's where the angel was standing. The threshing floor is the place of separation. That's the separate place of separation of these everlasting joys, even those that thresh. 16. And David lifted up his eyes, and saw the angel of the Lord standing between the earth and the heaven, having a drawn sword in his hand, stretched out over Jerusalem. Then David and the elders, clothed in sackcloth, fell upon their faces. And David lifted up his eyes, his understandings even, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing between the earth and the heavens. And that's right between. This is a representation. Earth is always the flesh, for that was what you was made from. And these heavens are the understandings and all that which is within, having a drawn sword. And this sword in his hand, we're going to find out it is a work that is stretched out over Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings. And when David sees it, Well, notice now, David and all the elders are clothed in sackcloth. Sackcloth is something they put on to show humility. And they had fell upon their faces, down upon their face, with the face toward the earth. These things that are made known even are just of the earth. 17, and David said unto God, Is it not I that commanded the people to be numbered? Even I it is that have sinned and done very wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray you, O Lord my God, be against me and against my father's house, but not against your people, that they should be plagued. And David makes intercession, we'll see here, between the people and him, that God should punish him, because it was he that sinned. And we'll see God was making a great example to the king, though, of the great punishment that comes when the king sins. And David said, Stay the plague, and we'll see, 18, Then the angel of the Lord commanded Gad to say to David that David should go up and rear an altar unto the Lord on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. So now this angel of God commands Gad to tell David that David should go up and rear an altar unto the Lord in the threshing floor of Ornan. In the threshing floor of this place of the joy, this everlasting joy, he was one of the threshers, even there at the threshing floor, we'll find out. 19, And David went up at the saying of Gad, which he spoke in the name of the Lord. And David did go up at the saying of Gad, his seer, which he spoke in the name of the Lord, because God commands all things, because it was against the law to raise up an altar anywhere else other than where God had set his altar, and that's why it was commanded to Gad to tell David this. 20, And Ornan turned back and saw the angel, and his 4 sons that were with him hid themselves. Now Ornan was threshing wheat, and Ornan turned back, this everlasting joy, turned back, or he looked behind him and saw the angel, and his 4 sons that were with him hid themselves. These 4 sons that were with him, it's the work of God. This angel even, who's standing at the threshing floor of Ornan. Now Ornan was threshing wheat. We'll find out. Ornan, these trees of joy, were standing there threshing wheat. Wheat's that first harvest. Wheat's the harvest even of the means it is a similitude of the first harvest. We know the barley harvest marks the beginning of the year, and this would be the first harvest of the year. The wheat, even that which was being separated there at that threshing floor. 21, And as David came to Ornan, Ornan looked and saw David, and went out of the threshing floor, and bowed down to David with his face to the ground. And Ornan, he comes out of the threshing floor, this place of separation, and he bows down to David with his face to the ground. Once again, with his face to the ground, these things of the flesh being made plain. 22, Then David said to Ornan, Give me the place of this threshing floor, that I may build thereon an altar unto the Lord. For the full price shalt you give it me, and the plague may be stayed from the people. And David said to Ornan, Give me this place, this threshing floor, this place of separation, that I may build here an altar unto the Lord. Give it to me for the full price, that he can stay this plague even of the people. We'll find out. For this this is being established for mercy. 23, And Ornan said unto David, Take it to you, and let my lord the king do that which is good in your eyes. Lo, I give you the oxen for burnt offerings, and the threshing instruments for wood, and the wheat for the meal offering. I give it all. And Ornan told David, he says, Take it, take everything. I give it all to you. Take the oxen, and these oxen are going to represent this higher cattle, even those that pull, those that have to pull, for the burnt offerings, even that which is going to pass through the fire to make atonement for sin, and these threshing instruments for wood, and these instruments of wood for wood, that which is going to kindle the fire for the altar. These instruments of threshing, and these instruments of threshing represent that which they thrash and beat the wheat to separate the grain from the hull. And the wheat, that which was separated, shall be for a meal offering, even a offering, that which will make atonement for sin. This is a free will offering. 24. And King David said to Ornan, No, but I will verily buy it for the full price, for I will not take that which is yours for the Lord, nor offer a burnt offering without cost. And King David says to Ornan, No, you can't give it to me. I will pay you the full price, for I will not take what belongs to you, nor offer a burnt offering without cost. And this burnt offering is going to be that which passes through the fire. And we'll find that David pays the full price for all of it. 25. So David gave to Ornan for the place 600 shekels of gold by weight. So now David purchases this threshing floor from Ornan for the price of 600 shekels of gold, even by weight. And that's 600. 6 days shall you do your work. It's going to be the work of man, even in judgment. That's weighed out. This shekel is a weight determined by the temple, and it's of gold by weight, and it does belong to God by weight and by measure. By measure, this does belong to God, for it's his judgment that he weighs out against man. 26. And David built there an altar unto the Lord, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings, and called upon the Lord. And he answered him from heaven by fire upon the altar of the burnt offerings. And David built there an altar, and he calls upon God, and we'll see. God answers him with fire, and fire's judgment upon that altar of burnt offerings, even that's going to make atonement for those that will pass through the fire, and that's judgment. 27. And the Lord commanded the angel, and he put up his sword back into the sheath thereof. Now God commands the angel to put away his sword, and we're going to find out that's that which he had stretched out, even that which is going to represent the words of judgment that was stretched out over, we'll see, it was Jerusalem. 28. And at that time when David saw that the Lord had answered him in the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite, then he sacrificed there. And when David seen that angel had put away his sword there at the threshing floor of Ornan, that place where they're separated, even those of everlasting joy, of those of the threshing floor, those of everlasting joy at the threshing floor, and that's that place of separation. He sacrificed there, and he made sacrifices. 29. For the tabernacle of the Lord, which Moses made in the wilderness, and the altar of burnt offerings were at the time in the high place at Gibeon. And this was the tabernacle that Moses had made, even the tent of meeting at that time, which Moses made in the wilderness. And that's that tabernacle that Moses made, that God commanded his servant to build in the wilderness being a place where the words drive out. And the altar, that's that altar of burnt offerings that Moses had made, that for those that would pass through the fire or even make an atonement for that period, were at that time in the high place of Gibeon. Gibeon's that hill city, even that high place that was made there from long ago. We'll see they had resurrected up the tabernacle there. 30. But David could not go there. David could not go before it to inquire of God, for he was terrified because of the sword of the angel of the Lord. And that's why David sacrificed there on the altar at the threshing floor of Ornan, because he was terrified of God. He was scared to death of the angel who was destroying, and he would not go up before the altar of God there at Gibeon at that time. We'll see that God rules. God strikes fear even in the great kings, because God works it all. And when you turn from God, God punishes everyone. Turn and return. Let's move forward to chapter 22.